There it goes. You're on.
All right, we finally got this thing to work. It's been giving us fits for the last 10 minutes, so sorry about that. I'm Teresa Weaver. I'm with Your Sewing Friend by Grateful for Joy and Peace Designs, and this is my second turn with the Quilt Candy Virtual Trunk Show. So the first segment last week, I showed you my sewing organizers. If you didn't get a chance to see that, scroll down and check that out. You'll really like those. Today I'm going to show you my quilts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some quilts that I didn't design. I made them, but I didn't design them, and just tell you a little bit of background about me. So the first quilt here, this is what got me started quilting. My grandma made me this quilt when I was 12 years old, and I just fell in love with it. She lived in Florida, we lived in Michigan, we didn't get to see each other much, and so she would write and ask, what are your favorite colors? And there were 7 grandkids, so she did that with each one of us, and one by one we got our quilts. So I remember the day I got this. It was a big box, and so excited to open it, and this was my quilt. She put my initials in one corner here. She put a scripture verse in the middle, and then over here she put the year that she made it. So this was a tremendous symbol of love to me. So this is what got me going in quilting. Now I didn't start when I was 12, but later, when I got married and had kids, I decided I wanted them to have a special keepsake. So I threw together a couple of quilts, didn't know what I was doing, and tied them. I didn't know anything about quilting. So after that, I kind of have 2 first quilts. This one, the blocks in this one were my first attempt at doing a traditional quilt. So I wanted to make a queen size quilt for our bed, and I actually used a wooden yardstick. I didn't know anything about quilting rulers, and used a wooden yardstick to cut my strips, and didn't know anything about 1/4 inch seam allowance, so I used a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then I found out the yardstick wasn't straight, it was warped. And at that point I just kind of gave up. You know, if you look closely at these blocks, and you don't have to zoom in, don't show them because it's scary, but the seams don't match up. But I couldn't throw the blocks away. I couldn't bear to do that because I put so much work into them. But I quit, but I kept the blocks for years. I kept the blocks. And then later, when I was more knowledgeable and knew what I was doing, I actually trimmed them all to be the same size and added sashing to create this quilt. And so if you ever have a project like that, maybe you just need to put it away for a while and then bring it back out and try something else. But I'm real happy with it. Nobody can see unless they look real close what's wrong with it. I use it all the time. This next quilt was actually the first class I ever took. It was a block of the month class, and I had a friend who said, let's do this, and I said, sure. And about halfway through the class she quit, and I kept going, and I have been quilting ever since. You can tell this quilt is much loved, was used quite a bit, and you know, I learned a lot from the class. Almost gave up, was so frustrated, almost gave up, but I didn't. I hung in there and finished it and learned a lot. So that's what got me started with quilting. So for many years I did traditional quilts, made a lot of quilts for family and friends, and then I joined a guild, and that was an eye-opener because I got exposed to so many different techniques, art quilts, applique, you name it. So when I was in the guild, I took a class. This was a class by Laura Wazalowski, and it was on applique. Learned a lot from that class and really had fun with this. We had to create our own little scene. And I really started playing with embellishments. I found out about hot fix crystals. Just had a blast doing that kind of stuff. And then the outside edge of this quilt, I took some fuzzy yarn and braided it. Like, I don't know how many strands of it, braided it, and then glued it to the edge of the quilt. Just for something different to do. So that was kind of an eye-opener for art quilts and what you can do with art quilts. This next quilt, so then I got into row by row. And this was my very first row by row quilt. And I had a lot of fun with this. It was a lot of work, and I put a lot of effort into it because I really wanted to make it look nice. So I had put some hand embroidery in there, did some three-dimensional elements, and used some crystals, just different things like that. Had a lot of fun with that. This was the first year it was in Michigan, so the theme was seasons. So that's what got me going into applique, and got me over my fear of applique, fusible applique. So I had a lot of fun with this. You can see some of the three-dimensional elements. A lot of different techniques in here. So that got me going on applique. So then I had made several row by row quilts, gave them to friends, and then I decided I wanted to make another one because of the contest. You know, you can enter the contest if you get 8 rows put together and turn it in on time, you can win a prize. Well, the first quilt I didn't get it done in time. So this one, this was a different year, and I decided I wanted to make it all one scene. I'd done, you know, put them together as rows, and I was ready to do something different. So I took and put together the measurements for the rows and made this big enough to make it all one background, and combined rows to make a picture. So this top branch here was one row. Those bird houses were another row. The tree trunk was another row. The butterfly house in the middle was another row, and then the bird house on the side there was another row. So that's how I put them together to make a scene. And you had to have 8 rows, so I got 5 on the front, and then I put 3 rows on the back. And the back's just as pretty as the front, I think. So, so I got this one done, got it turned in for the prize, was really happy about that. That was a lot of fun. And you can see on my applique, I got very adventurous and started doing a lot of dimensional applique. So all those leaves took forever. We'll never do that again. All right. So that's kind of a real quick take on my quilting journey. So now the next ones I'm going to show you are my patterns. So like I said, I was really into the row by row. I collected a ton of patterns, a ton of license plates, and I really wanted to do something different with the license plates than just make another big quilt. I wanted to make a wall hanging. So I came up with this one. I picked out my favorite license plates and put them together on a signpost. And I made a little quilt shop. There's a little quilt shop there at the end of the road. And just a good remembrance of all the fun road trips I had with friends going to collect all this stuff. And put a happy little sun up in the corner. So this was my first pattern, and I had a lot of fun with that. One thing I should say, I do still have this pattern, but I only have it as a hard copy. And right now, with the stay-at-home orders that a lot of us are dealing with, I'm only doing PDF patterns on my Etsy store right now. Once the stay-at-home orders are lifted, then my hard copy patterns will be available. So next, this was my next quilt pattern I came up with. I had a friend who's not a quilter, and she saw a canning jar quilt and couldn't get it out of her mind. So she called me and asked me if I could do something like that, but she wanted a small one that would fit in her kitchen. She wanted it this size, and she was very specific about this. She wanted the jars to be actual pint-sized jars. She wanted the whole thing to look realistic. She wanted it to look like the old zinc lids. So I put this together for her, and she was very happy with it, and I thought might as well make it a pattern that I can offer. Well, then a friend saw this and said, you know what, I want to do this, but I want to make it a bag. So they got me going. So that morphed into this tote bag. So now I have a matching quilt and matching tote bag. So I've got the canning jars on both sides, and then inside I put zipper pockets, and it's a really nice zipper technique. It's easier to do because you're doing it on top. You can see where you're sewing, and the pattern has complete instructions on how to do that. So the next quilt patterns I did, actually I'm going to show you, this is the seasons of quilting. And there's all 4 seasons, but I'm going to show you fall first, because this is what got this started. At Guild, we had a challenge. We had to use a pumpkin, and we had to make a 16-inch quilt, and it could be any scene, whatever we wanted to do. So this is what I did, and I got the idea of doing dimensional, a little mini quilt in the quilt. So this is actually a print. There's no piecing involved, but it's like a cheater fabric. So I came up with this one first, and I thought I might as well make the rest of the seasons. So this is what we got. We've got spring. In the spring one, you can see that the clothes on the clothesline and the little quilt are all dimensional. And again, this is a print. This is just cheater fabric. And the little sprouts in the garden, it's a little embroidery floss. And they got little points here on the sun. So that's spring. Then this is summer. Got your iconic red pickup truck sitting there, and the quilt's hanging from the truck. And again, this is a print. It's just a little cheater fabric. You got a little picnic basket. The handle is a piece of ribbon. You've got a hot air balloon, the sailboat. The sail is dimensional. Nice, cute buttons for the hubcaps. So that's summer. And then fall. You saw fall. And just use your colors for the trees for the fall colors. The sunflowers are yo-yos, so that's easy to do. The pumpkin's dimensional. You make the pumpkin, and then you stitch it to the background. And then the quilt's hanging on the picket fence. And then here's winter. Winter, you've got a sleigh. You got a snowman. The quilt, again, is a print, no piecing. It's hanging on the sleigh. The snowman has a ribbon here for a scarf. You've got your little kitty buttons in the window. And then the smoke coming out of the chimney is actually fiber fill that you stitch down. And this one would be really cute if you wanted to decorate the trees for Christmas and make a nice Christmas quilt. And then this is actually a log cabin block. You make the log cabin block first and then applique it to the quilt. So I thought that was fun, a log cabin block for a log cabin. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about my newest quilt patterns. This is my new book that I just finished. Just got it finished the editing and the testing on it, and pretty excited about this. It's full of new ideas for dealing with pre-cuts, and it's also got a thorough binding by machine tutorial in it, You've got 10 different quilt layouts, and each of them in 5 different sizes. So that's a total of 50 quilts you can get out of this book. So let me show you the different sizes. So this is the biggest quilt in the book. It's a twin size. And what I did, what you could have done, is you could have mixed the colors up, but I decided to keep the similar colors together. This was my first test quilt for it. I wanted to know what I was doing. So, so that's the twin size. And this is the generous lap size. So this is another pattern that's in the book. This is called Patriotic Waves. And then the one behind me is called Take a Spin.
This one?
Not yet. This one. Okay, so this is the lap size. Then there's 2 different baby sizes. You've got this square baby size. This is called Modern Twist. It's not finished, but I wanted to show you all the different sizes. So I still got to finish this one. And then this one is the other baby size. And this one's called Around the Block. And yes, I have stuff on there I didn't see. That's not supposed to be there. So this one is Around the Block. And this one I used one pre-cut pack by itself and divided it into light and dark colors and came up with this. So that's one neat thing about this book. You have lots of options. So this one was just one pre-cut pack. And then this one is the smallest size in the book, and I call this a comfort size. It's just the right size for a child to hang on to, drag around for a security blanket. It's also a great size for a wheelchair, and I'm going to show you that. What's nice about it is that it's just big enough to cover a person's lap without sticking out. It won't get caught in the wheels. It won't get dragging on the floor. So it's a nice little comfort size. So this quilt here is the exact same pattern as this quilt. It's Take a Spin. So this is the largest size in the book. This is the smallest size in the book. Exact same pattern. This one I used 5-inch squares. This one I used 10-inch squares. So this one you can see I mixed up the colors. And these I think are they're not 30s and 40s reproductions. So it's a totally different look. Totally different look than this one. So that, I think that is it for what I have to show you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I have no idea how I did on time, so I'm sorry if I went over. I'm offering a coupon code for today. All my patterns on Etsy are 25% off today if you use this coupon code Quilt Candy, just like you see it here. If you have trouble with the coupon code, message me and I'll help you through it. I had a couple people last week say they couldn't find where to put it, so if you have any trouble, please message me and I'll help you. So that's for today. If you don't see this video today and you're seeing it later, our stay-at-home order just got extended to April 30th. So what I'm going to do is all my patterns after today will be 20% off through the end of April. So if you missed this live, then you still have a sale that you can take advantage of. And then up next is Karen Overton at 2 o'clock. Karen Overton from the Quilt Rambler. She's the next trunk show on the list. I hope you've been enjoying these trunk shows. I think it's been a fantastic distraction that we've all needed. And it's also, to me, been a way for us to connect. I just think it's been fantastic. So I hope it brightens your day. This is the last day. I'm sad. But there is now going to be a Facebook group called Designers Quilt Candy Trunk Show, and I will put that link with the information with this video. So if you want to be a part of that group, all these trunk shows are getting posted there so that you can find them all in one place. So that's it for us. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Hang in there. Bye-bye.